Okay, it seems like you had a very busy summer with touring and all. Any good stories from the tour?
We are in general, I think, a very funny band. We don't take ourselves too seriously, so
At least we think.
we think. But yeah, tour was great. Like for me, it was my first ever proper tour, like 10 days. I've never done that before, so I was pretty excited about it. And it turned out like so good and was so fun. And I don't know, like there were like a few funny things. Like, I mean, the drum kit in London just fell apart like all the time while Fuse were playing, or like when we played, like after every song, almost like the complete drum kit like just fall down and like needed to put up again. And like, I don't know, that was just like so fun. Like, I don't know, as a drummer, I think it was not so fun at all, but
Yeah, it's stuff happens all the time.
Just
Also, you have to deal with it. But it was fun.
yeah.
it's just DIY. Yeah, also like some dangerous floors in some venues.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know, also like very interesting experiences getting booked for festivals that you feel like you wouldn't be a band to be booked
Ooh.
for as a straight edge band.
Yes.
Like very drinking heavy, beer heavy festivals with surprisingly great audiences because they're just having a great time, all of them. But it was
like
a fun
that was
experience.
an odd moment. Like this festival in Germany, like we are as a straight edge band, we don't drink, and there were just a bunch of drunk people, like because they just sold beer in like 1 liter. There was just 1 liter beer, and everybody was already drunk by afternoon, and we were like playing
Last band of the night.
and we were like wondering. Why did they put us last? Like, why are we like play? I mean, it doesn't make any sense, but it was so fun to play there because people were so motivated and they stage dived and like, I mean, I needed to stop at some point and I look out for some people like, hey, are you okay? They were like, yeah, but like insanely drunk, and I was like, oh, okay, you go, okay. But it turned out very well, so it was fun.
Definitely gonna do it again.
Yeah,
Maybe not all the same festivals, but we're
Yeah.
gonna do it again.
Let's talk about music a bit. The second pressing of Built to Rot EP that came out 2020 just came out. So what's the news on new music?
Well, we are working on it.
That's a sensible question.
It's a sensible question. Yes. Yeah. No, we are. We're planning to do a proper like full length album next, and we really want to take our time to put out the best possible music that we can, and just go in a few new directions that we haven't really gone down. Like we're not gonna make a prog album or something, but we're gonna try out some new things and just also just take our time to make sure it's a really good release and not just like not to just throw another one out there and keep up with the fast pace of punk releases as they usually are. But yeah, we're writing. I'm trying to write faster, but good things need time. So hopefully not too far in the future we will get to recording new stuff soon. So there's stuff there. We're playing a new song tonight,
Yes.
and we will be playing more new songs throughout the next year, and then hopefully,
Maybe in some years it will be done and finished.
yeah.
So
I mean, if all goes well, I don't want to promise anything, but end of next year, maybe middle to end of next year, something like that. We'll see.
but yeah, there's something brewing, so it's gonna be good.
Yeah, can I ask how much material is there, or in what stage for you is the album at the moment?
I would say still very much pre-production.
Next sensible question.
Next sensible question. Yeah. I mean, we have like a good handful of songs that are more or less done. I mean, they all need some more like, extra work and some little. They're
We have
still
some
rough.
demos. We have some demos.
Yeah, they're still rough around the
and
edges.
we work on them. Like
But the plan for the album is to have like around 10 songs, I guess. Hopefully.
maybe, yeah, I think
And
10 might
we're
work.
not quite there yet, so we have like a few, like maybe 3 or 4 somewhat finished songs and a bunch of ideas that need to be shaped into actual songs for now. But
Yeah, but it will be a concept again about mental health, and so we really want to like work it through, so everything, all the songs, not also like instrumental but also like lyric wise, that they all like make sense and like go into each other. So like that's the plan for now, like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
hence why it takes longer.
all about PMA.
Yeah, I said Build to Rot came out in a bit different world. Has something changed with how you write and work on music?
Well, we have now like a producer for the new LP, which is Eli from Disavow, who is helping us out this year on bass. And he's the guitarist of Disavow, and we're working with him together. And it's so far a very fun and great experience like that, because we have some songs and he has a little bit of a different idea, and like it kind of is very fluent, and it's like the whole process is like very interesting. And like there's these songs like which are still like very Dregs but in a new shaped way, which make it so interesting and
A bit more refined.
Yeah.
Less, I think before we were just very much like, we got together in the rehearsal room and we had a riff, and then we worked on the riff, and then there was another riff that came to it that just fit. So it was kind of like a more of a jammy kind of progression of songs. And with this one, like, it's really more of an approach of like, oh, we have this idea, let's see how we can shape it into something that makes sense, and less just like, oh, let's just go and see what it is, and more let's think about what we want to do with it and then shape it into things. So I feel like that's definitely, and also a lot more home recordings, since Eli is living in a different city from us. There's a lot of like writing riffs at home, recording them, sending them back and forth, and exchanging ideas. So yeah, I got some recording knowledge now that I didn't have before.
Yeah, you mentioned the theme will be mental health. Let's not spoil anything, but could you elaborate a bit on that?
For me, it's like very important to talk about mental health, because like I myself struggle a lot with mental health. Like I got so much better over the years, and like music was a huge part for me, like which got me going. Even like before I was in a band, like it always was like such a huge part for me. I was always listening to music, like any kind of genre, like, and it helped me so much. And like since I'm in a band, like I try to kind of, I wouldn't say like I'm the best lyricist, by far I'm not, but for me like the whole process like of putting down my thoughts, putting it down like in a song and like just scream it out, like helps me a lot. And I also want to kind of talk about it through the songs, like maybe someone's gonna read it and like feel kind of the same way, and maybe I kind of can help them like in somewhat, like, because for me it was always like very helpful to like read something and I'm like, okay, yeah, I feel the same way. So I think that's very important. So that's for now. But I've always been talking or writing about mental health, but the past ones were more like, I don't want to say negative, but it was like a different approach. Like my thoughts were different. The whole process was different. And now with the new record, I want to focus like more on like it will be, I just say like the keyword, it will be like the power of unlearning. So like the power, like kind of in a PMA way, like, okay, you have these struggles, but you can kind of work with them. And like, it's always like this process of like going 2 steps forwards, but 1 step back. And it will be always like this, but you're just want to do better for your own life. And you keep going, and you just want to keep going. And that's like my state right now, and like being more like upfront with it and like more transparent, and also with kind of a spiritual attachment to it. So that's kind of the workflow I have like for now.
Okay, yes, somebody who struggles too, that's very cool. You mentioned that you are straight edge bands, and a lot of straight edge bands here today and tomorrow and day after that. So, what does straight edge mean to you?
Well, that's also like one mental health part for me because I'm sober since 6 years. So I've never been like a part of straight edge, and still now I'm not claiming edge, but we as a band, it makes sense to be like a straight edge band. But for me, I never do the access, or for me, it was never be like. I don't want to be mean, but I didn't want to be a part of it. But you know, it's for me, it's like necessary to say I'm sober because like I had like issues with drugs and alcohol, so I was addicted. So for me, it's like this is still like a part for me, and I also write about this one like I did like before, and I do for the new record. So for me, it's kind of different approach, and like I'm like for me, it's necessary to say like I'm sober and I'm like still. You know, I don't want to. This is my past, and it's still like not important, but you know, like kind
It's a
of.
part of you.
It's a part of me. That's true. So that's yeah.
Well, for me, straight edge has always been like a very important point in my whole punk life, actually, kind of, because it's been like a struggle and also like a kind of like a safe haven at the same time. Because when I got into punk rock, I didn't really feel like drinking ever, and I didn't really know straight edge existed. I was just like a punk that didn't want to drink, and my punk friends made fun of me for it. And then at some point I discovered that there's bands that sing about not drinking and not doing drugs, and you know that there's a part of punk that does that, which very much gave me a lot of safety then in my younger years. And then throughout my time, like where I discovered my queerness and also like my questioning my gender and everything, it kind of started becoming a struggle because it was also associated with a lot of machismo and a lot of like hypermasculinity. And you know, but then that then also gave me the possibility to just like reflect on it and just look back at like I want to say true meaning, because you know, like it's kind of, there is no true meaning to straight edge to some point because technically it's just a song text, you know, but like to kind of like rediscover a true meaning for myself as a queer person within straight edge, and that it's a space that can be reclaimed for queer people, and it's not just for the tough guys and the big boys with their muscle shirts and their like hyper masculinity, but like for everybody. And you know, being sober is cool as fuck, so yeah.
Yeah, well, everything is said. It's cool as fuck.
Yeah, from your point of view, I'm always kind of maybe struggling it nowadays. Is there, or how is the straight edge scene doing in Europe or in Austria?
Sensible question. That's a good question. Is there a straight edge scene in Austria?
I don't know. I grew up on the countryside, so I'm pretty okay with not having a scene and still be straight edge. So
yeah,
I don't know.
On the countryside, there's for sure no straight edge scene because there's a lot of Feuerwehrfeste.
I mean, I feel like Austria is, you know, a very special place in general when it comes to punk and DIY, because I feel like most of it only happens really in like Vienna or maybe one or two other larger cities, and the rest is very abandoned, kind of. There's not a lot of things happening, and I wouldn't say we have like a proper like active scene of straight edge people. I guess there's like a bunch of straight edge people that are just around, but it doesn't feel like there's like an organized scene or like people connecting through it. At least not nowadays. Maybe it was different in the
I think you will never
years.
see like some shirt Austria straight edge. I think that.
I mean,
will
I
not
have a
work.
Vienna straight edge t-shirt.
That's true. There was
but
once
I kind of
one.
made that with a bunch of friends just by ourselves, so it's
Yeah.
technically not like Berlin
Yeah.
straight edge where it's like a thing.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, but
would be kind of odd, but I don't know. Like I mean, for Vienna, I think. But Europe, I mean, there are a bunch of bands, like especially like tonight, like Refuse Fest, like Refuse Records is just like mainly focused on like straight edge bands, the straight edge movement, which
Hell
is
yeah.
like a very important part of of this whole scene in general. Like that there's someone like keeps doing the work so many years and keeps releasing these great bands, like, and pointing out the straight edge movement.
And I think it's also important to note that like it appears to me that there's like a lot of young kids that get into punk now that are just really into straight edge. And maybe it also comes with, you know, like the extensive nihilism of nowadays and like late stage capitalism that is kind of like an interesting approach to rebel by being sober. And because I've noticed like if I go to shows in Vienna now, it's like a lot of the young kids just have access on their hands and I've never seen them before or talked to them. But it's cool to just like see that there's new kids coming out around here.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important for like there still being bands out there who kind of just like, you know, run with the label, and also like labels like Refuse Records still like keeping it going.
Yeah, how has the underground culture bounced back in Vienna after the pandemic?
Oh, while the pandemic, it was like there was obviously nothing going much, but then like when like I don't want to say like COVID ended, but like when it was a little slower,
When the official
like
stuff ended.
yeah, there was so much going on, and it feels like I was like a little bit you know, being safe and a little bit suspicious, like being on a show and like should I wear a mask? I worn a mask, and then when everything kind of slowed down, and it was a little weird to be there and to kind of fully go back to like 2019 shows, you know, and that was a bit awkward, but since then it's going pretty well. Like there are so many people on the shows, like there are so many bands touring, there's so many shows happening, and as you say, like there's so many young kids now showing up to shows like under 20 years, and some bookers now kind of have on their flyers, if you're like younger than 20 you can come in for free, which is amazing. Like there are so many young people, they kind of look amazing, they behave amazingly, and they try to have like fun, and they bring in like this new vibe, like this new fresh vibe, and I think that might change a lot, which is absolutely necessary, which is just great. And I think it's also amazing that so many bookers now like say welcome them, and not just be like, because when I moved to Vienna like over 10 years ago, it was like this bubble where you kind of sneaked in and be like, it was like a hard time to get in this bubble, which is kind of weird because punk hardcore is for everybody, but now it's way more open, which is amazing. So that's great. So
Yeah, I feel like I was very afraid in the beginning of all the lockdowns that it was just gonna die out and all the venues were gonna have to shut
punk
down.
never dies.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess. But yeah, I feel like I've definitely like haven't seen some familiar like older faces since the lockdowns ended anymore, which is fair. But I feel like it bounced back really well because I think the lockdowns made a lot of young kids very eager to go out and enjoy live music and go to shows and see bands. And it's very nice to just like have a bunch of kids actually at shows again, and not just like over 25-year-olds, but like actual kids hanging out at shows and having a good time. And so I think it's bounced back pretty well. There definitely have been changes, and some people didn't really come back, but the scene is going strong still in a different new way, which is also refreshing and nice.
Yeah,
Anything to add?
yeah, you want to add something?
No,
I'm not going on shows.
I'm old,
don't know.
so I'm not going on shows anymore.
I
No,
like
just
riding
kidding,
my
sure.
bike and driving the van. That's it.
Well, you mentioned Refuse Records, and of course we have to talk about it a bit more because Refuse Records celebrates
birthday.
its 30th anniversary, and there's a 3-day festival now here in Berlin, and you will play tonight. So just what are your thoughts on Refuse Records and this festival?
It's amazing to play here. Like I'm very excited to be part of it. Also, like I'm very grateful for Robert, like having us on the label. Like we met, I think in 2018 in Luxembourg. That's the first time ever. And then after a while, we became friends. And then he just like asked, like, who puts out like your Watch Out record? And was like, nobody. Do you want to do it? And like, and that was like the set And since then, it's keeping going. And I'm like, he's an amazing guy, and he's so supportive of us. He's showing up to shows and like being supportive with all the work he's doing. So Robert is amazing. So thanks to him. Yeah.
I think Refuse Records is like one of the big like pillars of European punk, really, because like Robert has been going strong for so long and has like I feel like he kind of like kept straight edge hardcore alive in Europe in like the size of what it is today, because I think without Refuse Records, like there wouldn't be that many like straight edge bands.
Yeah. Is there any other label? I don't know.
Probably,
Like,
but I don't really know labels. So
yeah, so not like that focus on straight edge or like
yeah,
on the DIY aspect, and also like he has like all these bands which like us, like we are not the typical hardcore band. We've never been, so we also like never really fitted in. Like, and Robert has all these great bands who are mainly straight edge and making great music, but don't properly fit in like this kind of.
I mean, there's
know?
a bunch of bands that are very typical straight edge bands, but that's good because there's also a need for those classical straight edge bands. But he keeps an open mind to change and to new things. And like Julie already said, we're also very grateful for what he has done for us, because being on Refuse Records has definitely put us on the radar for a lot of people that might have never checked us out otherwise. Because, you know, like if you're on a label that has somewhat of a ring to it, people will more likely give you a listen. And I feel like we've gained a lot of like fans and also like met a lot of friends through the label that we might have not met or gotten in contact with if it wasn't for Robert and Refuse Records. So yeah, it's fucking great.
Yeah, let's go back to Dregs. Then we have talked about the upcoming album, the first of many to come tour. And like, what's the 5-year plan? What kind of
5 years.
hopes and hopes and dreams you have for Dregs?
Someone who drives the van when we are on tour would be
Yes.
brilliant.
A road crew and a nightliner.
If you want to
That's not
be
a
with
joke
us,
or
if you want to
something.
have a job, like
Yeah, we're
can
always
contact
happy for
us.
drivers. Honestly, like it's especially on tour, it's nice to have someone to do the driving, because playing every
merch.
day and driving long hours
If you
is a
can
very
also take
exhausting
pictures
thing.
and film, that would be amazing.
Playing long hours, driving long hours and playing is very exhausting. So, you know, if you like to drive and you like our music and you don't get annoyed by pop music on the van, give us a call.
Yeah. Yeah, but besides that, like, what is our 5 years? I don't know. Like, I'm very optimistic and very positive. Like with the new record coming out.
Skateboarder.
Like with the new record, like I mean, we just started booking for next year already. Like there are a few things, cool things, if they work out, coming up, and I would love to do more tours together with some other bands, because I think it's always like more fun if you're like a cool tour package like with another band, and like
It's
you get
way
along.
more fun with a second band, because you
Yeah.
can annoy other people if your band gets tired of you. So that's really nice.
Yeah, and also a great way to connect. So I think like in the 5 years, like playing a lot of more shows, putting out the record, and like I love planning for myself, but like for the band, it's like I have that very positive like gut feeling it will all work out what it's supposed to be. So I think like in the next 5 years it will be fine. So
Yeah, I'm not sure if I can speak on a 5-year plan, because I don't even plan 5 years ahead for my own life. But like my approach would be, I just want to keep it going, keep the momentum, keep the energy that we within the band have and that the people seem to have with us right now, and just, you know, keep doing what we're doing and just keep playing and doing tours and playing shows and putting out the best possible music that we can in order to keep growing as a band and also as people, and just have lots of fun doing all this stuff, because it's the fucking best thing in the world.
yeah, and I mean we've been just to Europe so far, so
Oh yeah.
maybe US, maybe Australia, maybe Asia. So there are
Australia?
still so many possibilities like to tour
There's spiders there.
and stuff going on. So yeah, it will be interesting. So
If you're not from Europe and you like our music, hook us up.
The question would only be if you are a political band, then what are like the issues that are on top of your mind in 2023?
I mean, I think we are a political band because like punk rock in itself is political. I think the issues that we've always talked about have always, included a lot of feminist issues and, queer rights, and mostly because that's just stuff that affects us as people, obviously, and therefore it's music that topics that just flow into our music naturally, because I think you can't really be apolitical as a musician, because
especially if you're
write with
doing like
passion-
hardcore punk, like that's
Yeah.
in itself, like the whole history is always been about politic.
Yeah.
So I think it's you cannot say you're not, like, I think we all at some point, but in which direction like is your main focus? For me, it's like always been like feminism. So, and I think there are different people with different approaches, and like, which is very important. Like, you cannot do the whole thing, and like, you just can try your best and like connect with people, talk with people, and like be open-minded and try to do like the best for yourself and your surroundings, but still like figuring it out. And like, I think that's living life is political. We are in this capitalist society, so you just have to, like kind of live your life in the best way possible, and but still not forget about different struggles on this world, and like, and still supporting people, and animal rights, and there's so much work to do. And it's like, but I have to say, like, you cannot do everything, you for me the main thing always been like is feminism. So that, and also like mental health, like this is for me the huge thing what I
Mental health
most-
is political.
most outspoken about, like, but there are also like other topics which are also like very important, like, but
Yeah.
so yeah, it all goes together, like we're in this system, like,
And it's always okay to punch a Nazi.
yes.